Hello, this is Kev.
And Lil. We're discussing relationships in all of its forms and everything in between.
We've been together over 30 years. We've seen some things together and apart.
So if you want to laugh or need advice, come spend some time with Kev and Lil. Have
Have
we
we met?
met?
Hello, and we're back. It's been a
Hi.
bit, but we're back. We got a cute little insignia behind us now, thanks to the good-looking one next to me. Makes me look better just by her being next to me. But as much as we want to stay in a good mood, unfortunately, we're gonna touch on a subject that's a little sensitive, so to speak. Um, it's death of a loved one. Uh,
Loss of a loved one,
or
death of a loved one.
yeah, and it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people. And why don't you start?
Okay. Um, I just want to say that we have to give ourselves time to grieve. Everyone grieves differently. Um, there's 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. We have to learn how to take care of ourselves while we're grieving as well, because we're so stuck in our grief. We forget to eat, we forget to sleep. We just don't take care of ourselves. We need to learn how to take care of ourselves. When we grieve, we have to also think about others. They're grieving with you. So you have to talk to the other people that are grieving as well. Um, you reach out to people that you know that have passed through a loss of a loved one. They might have advice on how to deal with it. Also, don't forget to celebrate the life of that loved one. Of course, you're going to grieve and you're going to cry, you're going to miss them, but also talk about all the good times you had with that person, all the funny stories, and the grieving process is unique to everyone. Everyone grieves differently. Some people get over it quicker than others, and some take much longer, but we have to know the difference between grief and depression. And I think that's when you have to start seeking a professional. Join groups, grief. What is it? Grief counseling and grief group. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, you pretty much just said everything I was going to say in all my notes. You do know that,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
No, but no, seriously. So uh, it feel I've had a couple of relatives unfortunately pass away recently. A few of them actually, along with a an old high school friend of mine. We hadn't kept in touch, but you still feel the loss just because. I know he had a daughter, um, and he definitely had a brother who I heard speak during his funeral, and it starts to hit home a little bit, especially when at that age, because again I was in high school with this guy, and we're only maybe months apart in age, and I couldn't tell you, unfortunately. I didn't want to even ask how he passed, but for some people they feel like, oh, that's just part of the reason why you go to a funeral, just to find out. But yeah, I didn't want to know, honestly. Um, but again, I've had relatives, I've had and for me at least, I don't feel like I've been a little lucky. I haven't really had anyone that close to me pass away,
Your
other
dad?
than yeah, my father passed, but it's funny. I say this, and not funny, haha, of course, but funny in that my pastor passed away almost a little over a year and a half ago, and I probably felt that more than when Pop passed.
We both did, yeah.
He Pastor Chuck was an amazing man. He knew how to speak to me, just and he was one of those that you just respected. You just knew when he walked in the room, you sort of straightened up a little bit just because. And he didn't expect anything from you, other than just a smile. He was such a kind man. But the thing about someone passing, it's not it's unfortunate, yes, that someone passes, but it's what they've left behind. That's the part that can hurt or can suffer, so to speak. I've had cousins that have passed, and you, as much as you want to be there for them and so on, and you say the same old, oh, if you need me, I'm here. If you need to talk, I'm here, and I genuinely mean that. But how often do you really get taken up on that offer?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, there's certain things that I was reading up on this that you should do. Of course, there are certain things that I certainly have taken up on my own when the time comes, and I try to reach out to these people when someone has passed as well. I've had recently a friend, her mom passed. Not long before that, another friend of mine, her father passed, and every once in a while I'll try to reach out just to check up on them, and it's certain things. It's those little things too, that remind you of that person when they're gone.
Yeah.
You don't even realize it. You could be fine up until the moment they're gone. You could be fine days after. I one cousin of mine, she told me when her mom passed, she was good. She was fine, or at least she was hurting, but it wasn't like, she wasn't totally down yet. But she said what got to her was the bottle of Pine Sol. Mm. And I don't know if she told me that she saw the bottle of Pine Sol or she smelled the Pine Sol, but whichever one that it triggered, whether it was the scent or the sight, that's what got to her, when reminding her of her mom and my other cousin, of course, and that's what got to her, and that's what made her finally break or crack, so to speak.
Well, they say grief comes in waves, so you could be fine one day, and like you said, scent of something, or you see something and it brings you right back.
Yeah. I mean, the most important thing, of course, is you need to take care of yourself. Try to eat well, because again, that comfort food is not just comfort food. There's a reason why it's called that, right? Mm-hmm. Try to exercise, or at least go for a walk. Definitely try to get enough sleep, because it can go either way. You can be getting enough. You can get too much sleep because
you stay in bed,
or you're in bed all the time, or better yet, you just can't sleep. You wind up becoming an insomniac, because didn't that happen to your mom?
Yeah.
When one of her
my
old
stepfather.
boyfriends, yeah. And you want to avoid the alcohol and the medication, because unfortunately, some people tend to, that winds up becoming a crutch along with an addiction for some. But any other thoughts?
Well, I was also thinking, like, when a death of a loved one happens, you not only have to deal with your feelings, but you have to deal with the rest of the family, the kids. Oh, I gotta tell Aunt so-and-so, and I gotta call the family. And every time you speak to someone and tell them the news, you're going through that all over again. It's just, and then the stress of the funeral, the funeral arrangements, the burial, and some people are lucky that their loved ones have everything prepared for them. So you're allowed to grieve. You don't have to worry about, oh, I got to call the caterer, or I got to get a tombstone, or I got to make sure we have somewhere to bury this person. Not everyone has their wishes taken care of beforehand. And that's one thing that I really, really suggest y'all do is, I know some people think it's taboo to think about it because then you're wishing upon it to, to happen or whatever. But put your wishes down on paper. Make sure they know what you want. If you want to be cremated or if you want a burial, where do you want to be buried? Have a plot, have a tombstone, have everything ready for them because your family will love you even more because that's one, two, three, 1,000 things less that they have to think about while they're grieving you. What else? What else?
I mean, there's learn to express your feelings.
Yes.
Don't hold them in. I mean, who are you trying to impress? You know what I mean? It's hey, if it's one of those things where you gotta scream and curse and whatever
Let it out.
let it out. Mm-hmm. Let it out. If it's gonna make you feel better, if it's gonna release that tension or those feelings of remorse, do it. Nobody's gonna blame you, and if they do, who the heck cares? You know, talk with your family, talk with your friends. Allow yourself to cry. It's not. Don't give me that crap that I'm a man and I'm not gonna cry. Get the heck out of here with that. You're not a man if you're not crying. Don't give me that. That's not being a man. That's being a robot. You know, forgive yourself. I make this joke with Lily all the time where I'm like, yeah, she'll say something to me and I'm going, oh my God, is that the last thing you're going to say to me today? I could walk out the door and you may never see me again. And yeah, I'm doing it as a guilt trip, I'll be honest.
And it works.
Well, hey, you know what I'm saying? Everybody always says, make sure you say you love, yeah, make sure you say it. If you feel it, if that's what you are, if that's who you are, if that's how you feel toward that, say it. What is the problem?
Say I love you.
Speak your mind. Say that you love that person. Mm-hmm. I mean, and again, although it's great to reminisce, it's amazing to reminisce and think about the good times you had with that person or whatever or whomever it was or whatever it was. Learn to live in the present too, because I've known of people that tend to start living in the past only, like, oh, I need to go back to this because that's when we were happy and they're gonna love me more, looking down on me or whatever it is look, I get it, and maybe it's a coping mechanism. I totally understand that, but it's not reality. Learn to live in the present. Just like I tell Lily all the time, put the phone away. Come on, be present. You know what I mean? It's the same concept. You know what I'm saying? I'm still here. Come on, let's give each other our time. You know.
I also want to talk about something that I don't talk about, but it's part of loss. Losing a child. I don't want to even think about it, but it's unimaginable for me. I don't wish that on anyone, on my worst enemy, no one. You just don't lose a person. You don't lose that child. You lose the future. You lose the promise of what could have been. You lose
a piece of yourself.
Yes, and you lose the future. Seriously, you lose them going to college, their prom, their first kiss, the girlfriend, the grandchildren you're not going to have from that person. You're not going to be able to walk them down the aisle. It's just you lose the promise of that child in the future. So not only are you grieving the child, but you're grieving what could have been. And that's horrible. Also, I wanted to speak on the opposite. A child losing a parent or their parents. I read this online. It says a child can be losing a parent for a child is the most traumatic thing that could happen to them. The death of a person you rely on, the person who loved you unconditionally, can leave you in an instant. Just leave this huge void in their world. In helpguide.org, I read that it's also common for young children to blame themselves for their parents' death. Like you said, don't blame yourself for that person dying. And also, as an adult, when we lose our parents, it's it's distressing, and it can also make you think of your own mortality. Like, oh, I'm next. It's death can touch in so many ways. It can go so many different ways, and we definitely need to seek a professional when you feel like everything is against you and no one's there for you. You feel lonely. Guys, we're not professionals whatsoever. We're just speaking from experience, and you definitely should seek guidance.
We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yep. Also, loss of a pet.
Yeah, some people don't.
I cried like a baby.
Yes.
That was family to me.
Yes. But can I see? I'm going to preface this.
What?
I'm going to preface this. Look, I've loved all of our dogs. I've loved all of our dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, some more than others. Some more than others. I definitely love them. And I get it. I get it. Losing the pet, it's a lot. It can hurt. I remember, especially when we had Shadow. We had our first dog we had. Actually, our first dog we only had a few days. Shadow, though, we had 14 years. And Shadow was a great dog. Man, she was the best dog. And then we had Mocha. And Mocha we had 6 years, right? About 6 years. She was unfortunately, she was taken too soon. We can, we think, not a definite, but we think she was definitely poisoned, unfortunately. We think it may have been by the neighbor, but we can't prove that, of course. Trust me, because our son would have really flipped out if it was, because he was very much attached to that dog. And then, of course, we have Nikita here now. Nikita's we're going on 11 and a half years we've had this one.
She's sleeping right next to
thank God she's sleeping, because if not, she'd be whining right now. But the reason why I mention this is because, look, I get it. Some people are like, oh, they're a pet parent, and it's not the same thing. Sorry, I've got kids and I got pets. If I got to choose one of the two, I'm choosing my kids. Just gonna say that. But no, losing the pet, absolutely, it can be devastating, because they as a pet, their love for you and for them is unconditional. Of course, you hate when they pee in the house, but they overall they just want to do right by you, and they wag their behinds because you walk in the door, or if you leave them behind, they whine, and they get excited, and so on, and you wish your wife would get like that when you walk through the door, but she doesn't really do that very much. But regardless of that, no, a loss of a pet can hurt. It can definitely hurt.
And also, loss of a friend.
Again, well, that's not true. I did lose one friend not long ago. We still reminisce about him all the time. My boy George. Not boy George, but my boy George. We still miss him to this day. He was a lovable loser, so to speak. Well, I mean, not in a bad. I mean, again, and a heart of gold though. Heart of gold. You know what I mean? If I needed him, he would be there. That's for sure. He was one of those guys. But yeah, that was. I mean, I know you have some words on possibly losing a friend.
Yes. Once again, on helpguide.org, losing a friend. Close friendships bring joy, understanding, and companionship into our lives. In fact, they're vital to our health and well being. So, no wonder we can feel their loss gravely. When a close friend dies, though it's easy to feel marginalized, the closeness of your friendship not giving the same significance as a family member or romantic partner. This can lead to what's called disenfranchised grief, where your loss is devalued or you feel judged or stigmatized for feeling the loss so deeply. Losing someone to suicide, the shock following a suicide can seem overwhelming. As well as mourning the loss of your loved one, you may also be struggling to come to terms with the nature of their death and the stigma that suicide can still carry. While you may always be left with some unanswered questions about your loved one's suicide, there are ways to resolve your grief, even gain some level of acceptance. We usually, I mean, I lost someone suicide, and the first thing you think about is, could I have avoided it? Was I there for them enough? Did I give them the crying shoulder that they needed? Or I should have picked up that 10th call that they made so they could talk about whatever. And it's like we always blame ourselves, but it's not our fault.
And that goes with forgiving yourself.
Yes.
That definitely goes with that. You know, and again, you got to allow yourself to remember the good times you shared. Find ways to honor their memory. You know, a lot of people say that instead of a funeral, they're calling it a celebration of life.
Of life, yes.
Which is a nice. And again, I don't want to offend anyone, but it's a nice twist on the thought, or you know, it's a good way. It's a positive spin on it, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, some religions cry the birth of a child, and they celebrate the death of said child, or when they get older.
And the rituals, so to speak, or the traditions, I guess, you know, they vary from so many different cultures. And sometimes it's not just a day, or it can be a month. It could be, and sometimes they get back together again the following year to celebrate it again, on the anniversary of it, of the death. But you know,
Catholics also pray. They do the rosary. They do prayers so they can have their soul of their loved one leave. What's it called? The in between.
oh, the limbo, I guess it is.
No, but they call it something
I
else.
thought it was limbo. Well, I'm
Yeah, it
not
is
sure.
limbo, but
I know you're talking about it at the middle plane or whatever it is.
yeah.
I forgot what
So
it's called. But,
Catholics usually hold like a rosary service and prayer service so they could get the soul out of there and go where they need to go. There's a lot of rituals and a lot of practices, but I think the most important thing is definitely to seek other people that have gone through it, and so they can help you if you feel like you're struggling or you're falling deep in depression. Definitely seek a therapist.
so I mean, so again, you know, we were going to touch on that. So there's different aspects. I mean, just remember as well, not everybody grieves the same. Just because, let's say, Pop passed away, mom may be devastated, but the little brother is like, okay, what's for dinner? I mean, not literally, but you know, it's just they're not connected as well, or again, they just grieve differently. You know, so and a few things that, you know, allow yourself to feel. It doesn't hurt.
It's gonna hurt.
Grief, and again, although there's supposedly 5 stages of this, you know, grief doesn't always move through stages. It can be you can be on a high for one day, and then the next day you could be in a low, and then the next day you're back to it. Could be rivers and streams and ups and downs. You don't know. Prepare for those painful reminders. Like I said, as far as the pine sol bottle, because it could. I know some people relate to butterflies, cardinals, and such things such as that. And moving on doesn't mean you forgot them.
No.
Okay, it just means that you're moving on with your life, and I'm pretty sure, although unless you that person was that person, I'm pretty sure they would want you to move on. They would want you to
live your life.
Because because I'm pretty sure they're thinking, hey, you know what? I might not be there, but you better be spending it properly instead of just thinking of me. I appreciate it. Thanks for thinking of me, but let's get it moving. Lean on those friends and family. Focus on those who are good listeners. I tend to talk a lot. Boy, do I talk a lot. But I offer an ear to anyone and everyone. They joke at my job that that the therapist is in because the line outside my door at times can be a lot. But again, I'm willing. I offer and I'm there for them. Do you have any final thoughts? Because I do have something to touch on after.
If you believe in God, search for God because it helps. It does. Reach out to God in prayer or going to church, going to groups, and it helps. At least in my opinion, it helps when I talk to Him and I say, God, why? Because that's always the question, why? Why did you have to take so-and-so? And just commune with God, and it helps, at least for those of us that believe.
I just wanted to end this with, I know we, Lil touched on the therapy and the grief counselor and so forth. I mean, I don't have numbers for you, but I do want to mention a couple of things. Contact a bereavement counselor or therapist if you one, feel like life isn't worth living. Two, wish you had died with your loved one. Blame yourself for the loss or for failing to prevent it. Feel numb and disconnected for more than a few weeks. Are having difficult trusting others since your loss, and are unable to perform your normal daily activities. Again, you can grieve. You can absolutely grieve. But if that grief is long-standing, if it's lasted more than maybe 2 months, I want to say. I hate to put a time limit, but yeah, you may need more assistance, more guidance than you realize, and there's no shame in speaking to a therapist, your pastor if you need to, whoever is a figure that you can actually speak with no judgment, of course.
Just Google it, bereavement counselors.
There's groups out there. There's
Yes.
all types. So sorry that we were a bit of a downer today, but it just felt like it was time to speak on this. And yes, we've met death of a loved one.
Yes.
And for those that have lost someone, God bless you.
Our condolences.
Our condolences as well.
But you need to move on. You have to keep on going.
We love you, and and for those that we personally know, absolutely, hey, I'm here if you need me. But no, sincerely, if I am here. That's it for us today.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. So thank you for listening to Kev.
And Lil,
Have we met? And here's hoping you have better relationships in your life. Goodbye.
Goodbye.